do a little bit of introduction. I'm so honored to be here. Not just because of the people that I'm going to be sitting on stage with who are legends, but all of you that showed up. 3 years into a horrific genocide. And you're still showing up. You're still showing up saying, what more can we do? How can we do it? Please help. We're still showing up to things like this to learn more. And so I want to begin actually, before I sit down and join my friends, at these protests, we chant things back and forth, right?
Yes.
We've been doing that. We're going to do a different kind of back and forth right now. And the second time around, I'm going to ask you to look at each other and say this. And I want it to be very awkward. I want it to be very real. Because we are the ones that we're waiting for. We're going to do this together. And so there's a Christian theologian named Frederick Buechner. And he has a quote that says, "Here is the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid." Here is the world. This is the one we've been given. None of us chose to be here, but we're fucking here. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid. So I'm going to do that in 3 parts. You're going to repeat after me. The first one, just say it to the room. Say it to the universe. And the second time together, you're going to look at one of your neighbors, and I want you to say it like you mean it. I want you to start out acknowledging our existence and then end with "don't be afraid," because we cannot be afraid. That's what they want. That's what they want, and they're not going to get it from us, at least. Repeat after me. Here is the world.
Here is the world.
Beautiful and terrible things will happen.
Beautiful and terrible things will happen.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Now, choose a neighbor.
All right.
Here is the world.
Here is the world.
Beautiful and terrible things will happen.
Beautiful and terrible things will happen.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Okay, this panel is, as Mohsen, my friend, pointed out, is about action. It's about action. None of this matters if we don't get to work. None of this matters if we don't get to work. Again, they're counting on us being afraid. They're counting on paralyzing us. They don't want us to get to work. And I have some workers on stage. You all are workers. We're going to keep doing that out of tonight. So our friend Kat, wherever they are, introduced, not this cat, the other cat introduced us. I know this cat's here. I love this cat. Already introduced, kind of gave an overview of who you all are. So I won't redo that, but what I will ask you to do is, starting here and moving that way, you have a minute or two. Tell our friends here how you're feeling, how you're doing, and tell them what you want them to know about you. In 2 minutes. Don't talk too long, I will cut you off. We can start over there. Conrad.
Oh, man. All right. So, 2 things can be true at once. I am feeling exhausted, but I'm also feeling energized.
Yeah.
For a lot of my campaign, I was working full-time still as a public defender doing criminal defense work. And so I was in court 9 to 5, and then I would go campaign when I got done with court. I've been luckily on a sabbatical for the past 2 weeks now and starting to gain some energy back. But I'm also energized at the same time because I know, when I'm out in the community, talking to people, sharing the platform and telling people what I'm about, I see hope fill back up in their eyes. And those conversations are what energize me to keep going and keep pushing, because a lot of people are feeling a deep struggle right now. And I feel like there's a moral obligation for us to stand up and fight for everyone. So I'm energized to keep doing that.
So who I am first? I'm Andre. I am a lifelong Bronx resident, hailing from what many people call the poorest congressional district, which I like to rephrase as the most exploited congressional district. I'm an educator. I've been in the classroom for 12 years in the Bronx exclusively. And I'm a socialist. which means that I believe that the workers should control the political and economic decisions in their lives. I stand with Palestine, which means that I am against war, and I believe that we should end all funding to Israel.
Yes.
And to get to the point about how I'm feeling, a little bit older, and incredibly thankful. Like Conrad, I've been hitting the streets in the Bronx, talking to our neighbors, and just finding exactly what is energizing people and what is giving people hope. And we were able to have many conversations, and we collected 10,000 signatures from. From a district that people say are politically disengaged. We went directly to the people and brought our message to them, and they were incredibly excited, and they gave us back our energy, and that's what allows us to keep going. So thankful is the thing that rises to the top for how I'm feeling right now.
When I was sitting back there knitting a sweater and listening to this, a girl was leaving and she was like, I am such a big fan. You're running for Congress, right? And I was like, well, I was. And she was like, what happened? And I was like, well, more than $1 million of AIPAC money. It's been about a month and a half since our election, and I was feeling tired, but if there's any upside to it, it's that unlike these gentlemen, I'm not on the campaign grind and I can sleep for once. But what I'm really feeling, do y'all want the honest answer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I am scared sometimes. Like we say, don't be afraid, but I think what we need to really focus on is that we're all afraid, and the only thing that we should not be are cowards. I've been thinking a lot about that, facing my federal trial next month and how many people are making excuses, and I'm so proud to be around people who aren't making those excuses. And I'm feeling really energized at the same time. I'm trying to balance all of these complicated feelings, but also our campaign, the #1 persuader for volunteers and for voters was how we integrated mutual aid and direct action into our campaign. And so we didn't want to abandon that infrastructure, and we have been launching an org to help other candidates do the same while keeping our mutual aid hub open. And it's, I'm like so inspired being in this space, and I'm getting a tour after this to crib some ideas for our own. And I just want to say thank you for having me.
Before we move on, can you talk about Kapow? This
Yeah.
is the time to do it.
This is the time to do it.
Well, I think it's super important.
Thank you. So our org, Kapow, is basically I just saw how much money gets wasted in campaigns. I was like, damn, if Harris, first off, recognized the genocide, but also used like 1/10 of the billion spent on stocking food banks and funding clinics. Like, I grew up Republican. I had a dad who was like, damn, we really gotta assimilate. He really did. And nothing would have made me a Democrat faster than seeing actual action when we're all disappointed in politics. So even though and I say this with love to all grassroots candidates, including the two gentlemen right here, we're a lot more likely to lose than we are to win. But we can make the path easier for others, and we can also put pressure on our opponents. And so I want to get it to a point where it is the expectation rather than the exception that you are using the immense amount of resources we put into this election system that we have to feed people, to clothe people, to bring people together. We need to organize outside of just election cycles, but also through election systems. We need to make campaigns not year-round in the way they are, but in terms of bringing in folks that, I'm using this term with so much love, bringing in normies, making sure that we're having spaces for entertainment and enrichment at zero cost to bring us all into political action. Low-income families that don't have the time to come to talks like this, despite their values being aligned. So I'm really excited about it. You can find more at kapow.works, and we're talking to some candidates in New York, and if y'all know any candidates that are interested in trying a new model, please let us know. Yeah, hit me up after. Thanks, Nick.
I feel good.
Didn't go right, huh? I feel good. And you, I would. Yeah, I have great feelings being in community with you here. Seeing many of my Colombia comrades and community in the space, it's really uplifting because we really miss having a space like this where we come together. So I'm grateful to be with you. I feel immense gratitude for the People's Forum who have worked on a very short notice to make this happen, and for their team, and for their resilience, and for their model, even though we knew there is a potential physical danger. For Hassan, they said, our model is we will not surrender to fear and we will not allow intimidation to happen. And they said, we're speaking the same language that also Nick has encouraged us to do. I'm grateful for the organizers from Colombia, Kat and Sebastian and Sharif and Jamil and Suruj and many others. And I feel hopeful and excited because this is actually the first time where we bring potential representatives. We're rooting for you and the students together. And one big issue that happened in the past, and until this moment, there has not been a bridge between the students and the representatives. And I think that this is a very important bridge to build. And the creativity that we see, the new revolution, if one might say, in campaigning and in presenting yourself and combating big money, ABAC money, to say your truth against, against the, the institutions that have been already established, is something powerful and inspiring. And I feel also grateful for Hassan Biker, even though he's not with us, but he's a force that has helped many of us to come together here.
This is a question for Andre and Conrad. You can take it or leave it. It's about why, and I could also pose this to Kat, but Kat is not currently running, sadly. Why, in this time, and that could be said at all times, I get it, but in this time, why choose to run for office when trust in political offices, period, is at an all-time low? We don't, there's such a, I, who believe that we should be involved and we should be doing everything we can to change, from the ground up. I'm so discouraged, and there's so much of me that does not want to get involved. I want to leave that system alone altogether and just do these sorts of things. And yet I'm amazed that people choose to continue to do it. Amazed in all the good ways. Just absolutely floored that people would choose to take on that fight still. So what is your own personal why? Why the hell would you do this?
So this is a great question. I actually hated electoral politics growing up. So many of the politicians in our past let us down, right? They would say one thing and not deliver or not do it, right? They pay lip service and not do anything. And so I carried that disdain for electoral politics with me through my student organizing days, all the way up until maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago now. I started doing policy work, trying to do criminal justice reform. I've written some of our city and state laws, and I saw a lot of our elected representatives not really do anything to push bills that would be transformative for people's lives, right? And I learned, and I knew some of this already, but what you learn is there's so much money thrown into these people by the real estate lobby, by AIPAC, by police unions, the BBA, that there's an incentive for them to deliver for those people, right? Started reading more Eugene Debs. I'm a labor organizer. Eugene Debs talks about how the only way we're gonna protect union power is if we have a marriage between the economic trade unions in your workplace and the political union in politics, and that's the Socialist Party. He said that the judges have the power of injunctions, right? And that's how a lot of union organizing was stopped in the past. It was judges handing down injunctions and allowing employers to engage in anti-union tactics. And so in reading more Eugene Debs, and reading more Rosa Luxemburg, and doing more dialectics, it kind of brought me back to where I am now, which is, we need people who are willing to take money not from corporate interests, but take money from the people and deliver to bring power back to the people, right? And I've also been thinking a lot more about federalism. Hated federalism growing up because that word is a trigger word for the right, and it's the F word, and a lot of Republican states really used it to take rights away from the marginalized. But I'm thinking about it now, and the entire world is looking at New York City, at New York. After Mayor Mamdani's momentous win, the entire world is looking here. And I think we can wrest power back for the left through federalism. We have a moment now to make New York State the bastion of reproductive rights, the bastion of anti-Israel, the bastion of union rights and labor organizing. And the only way we're gonna do that is by electing people who are willing to stand up and build that power. And so, I look forward to being able to do that with other socialists in office. And I think that's the only way we're gonna do that, is by electing more socialists and really realizing Eugene Debs' dream of having a socialist party.
Yeah.
So at our launch party in January, we introduced two core ideas about what our campaign is existing to do. So the first core idea was one, reshaping the way that we think about District 15, not as a site of the imposition or the projection of the failures of capitalism, but as a place where people have the agency to transform their conditions. So that's why we refer to it now as the most exploited district, because it provides direction, it provides a source and a course of action that people can take. The second idea was that we are gonna dismiss this idea that it is what it is. And we're going to replace that idea with it will be what we make it.
Yeah.
So primarily what we are existing to do is to transform the way that the people in this district and the working class in this country more broadly, the way that they imagine themselves in relation to the political and economic systems that govern their lives. They have to transform themselves they have to transform themselves from people who are acted upon to actors, to protagonists. And if there is not an invitation, if there is not a structure to invite those people to participate in life in a different way, then it is foolish for us to anticipate or expect for transformation to happen independently, spontaneously. So we understand that this campaign is a space not just for political representation in Congress, but as a vehicle to provide avenues for people to understand themselves and their responsibility differently. That's probably the most common response that I got when I'm campaigning and when we're collecting signatures on the streets. Is when I tell people, I'm trying to get signatures so I can get on the ballot in November. People say, "No, I don't like politicians. I don't vote, right? I don't care about politics like that." And I love those people, because those people have an awareness that the thing that they've been told is politics. The things that they've been told is the way that they can participate in their electoral lives. The thing that they've been told that their ancestors died fighting for is not actually delivering what they were told that it would. So we are reaching a people that are desirous of change, but lacking a vehicle to produce that change. And we understand that it has to come from an independent movement of working class people that are not tied to the existing interests and the existing billionaire capitalist forces that have produced the failures that we see every single day when we go out into our communities. There has to be an independent movement of working class people that are clear-eyed and understanding exactly what the cause of their problems are and what the solution is. There would be no Mayor Mamdani had there not been a mass movement of working people in defense of the sovereignty and the self-determination of the Palestinian people. It was the people who met in this room and sit in the seats that you're sitting in right now that met week after week after week after week and found so many ways to manifest the steadfastness of the Palestinian people and their self-determination in our communities in front of the offices of people like Richie Torres. There you go. So it was the independent mass movement of people that made it so that Palestine is an unavoidable question and something that every person running for office has to confront and take the only logical answer to, which is the solidarity and complete support of the Palestinian people and their cause for self-determination. That was only possible because there was an independent mass movement of people that understood that politics is a reflection of what the masses demand, and we have to make our demands clear, and we have to organize that every single day, inside, outside, and until we get that conclusion.
I just want to add, everything these guys said, right on the money. But it's so easy to just be like, electoral politics bad, which yes. And it's so easy to say, well, I've given up on it. The system is too corrupt, which also, yes. But have you actually given up on it? Do you still feel rage when you see ICE deployed on our streets, when your representative votes against your interests? Did you still feel hope the night that Zoran won? If you truly gave up, why are you still feeling emotion about this? And it's because there's potential, there is possibility. And politics is just one part of the equation. It's not even half of the equation. We need to be providing for each other. We need to have strong local and state governments that are pushing policies beyond what the federal government is doing right now. We need to have strong community networks. We need to have actual intersectional conversations, politics, and justice across the board. But when it comes to elections, when it comes to your representative, we have a really fucked up system. But what if we weren't always reacting? What if we didn't have to be donating money to families who have been halfway or entirely annihilated because of bombs that are paid for by our dollars, because we have representatives who are voting against it? What if we didn't have to do this in the first place? I think it's so easy to write off politics because we all feel so powerless, but instead I think we should be posing to ourselves the question, what if we had power? And if we just let ourselves not be a part of the conversation or not force ourselves into the conversation, then we aren't going to get anything.
Yeah. Retreat is not an option.
Retreat is absolutely not an option.
Go ahead.
And in my campaign,
Tell us about your campaign.
I want to share something. It's just a moment to just pause and think that Andre and Conrad are running for positions in government, and just 70 years ago or less, the African American people were fighting for rights to vote, for voting rights. If this is not a moment to see the power, how it can change, and how can you channel, and how can you build, and how can you transform, when will we ever be able to see it? This is history, and we have to look at history, and this history gives us perspective and gives us hope as well. I shared earlier that I believe in democracy, but democracy is like a house for me. You build the foundation, then you put the structure, then you put the walls, then you start modifying the details inside, and based on your needs, the house would need to be evolved. If there is a storm that comes and it breaks down stuff, you would have to reimagine it. And I think that the political storm that we are seeing in America, the disaster that we are seeing, it's really exposing everything that is that's fragile and what needs to be reimagined and rebuilt in this house that is supposed at its foundation to provide material equality and justice for people, wealth redistribution. That's the source of most injustices. And I would love to hear at some point what is your, if you have an understanding or a vision of how can you bring that justice in relationship to material injustice that's happening and what needs to be reformed in the positions that you will be playing. But as a Palestinian too, and I love Mayor Mamdani and what he's doing and his fight for Palestine, and yes, the Palestinian movement, and this is also said by his father in one of the interviews, is what was a mobilizing energy and force to bring him up. But at the same time, as a Palestinian, he has fell short on Palestinian fundamental rights. And that's related to the right of return of the Palestinian refugees and right of Israel to exist without actually stating the right of return. And many other issues, and I wonder, and I'm saying this out of love, not out of hate, and we have to pressure anybody who comes into power because people have to be checked. So I also appreciate the opportunity to hear how would you be able to actually listen to Palestinian fundamental rights and advocate for them. Sorry, I'm taking this.
No, take it away. I think we're all on the same page here, but I just want to make sure you understood what was just shared. This movement is not just about advocating for the end of the genocide and the occupation. We don't stop until Palestinians can return to their homes and their land. That's the goal. The goal is, yes, to stop the genocide, yes, to stop the occupation. But when you get to go home, and you and yours, that's what we're going at.
With freedom of movement.
With freedom of movement.
With equal civil and legal rights.
Basically the opposite of what's happening now, but we don't stop any short of that. We're not done until that is a reality.
And maybe it might be helpful just to share a perspective. This whole issue, the Palestinian issue, if one might say, it is not an occupation. It started with an occupation, but also of expulsion of 800,000 Palestinians. Now we are looking at about 5.5 million refugees. About 3 million refugees are living in refugee camps in the West Bank. Gaza, the whole Gaza now is a refugee camp with tents in Syria, in Lebanon, and in Jordan. And just for the truth, the truth has its own force. Many people want to see a political resolution. As a Palestinian refugee, born and raised in a refugee camp, and my family is still there, we will not be able to accept a resolution that does not guarantee the right of return for Palestinians. And that does not mean everybody has to return. You can pay reparation, you can do compensation, but people have the right to choose between returning or between receiving other things. And at the core of it is there will not be a peaceful, sustained resolution or peace without addressing this core issue, which is the issue of the right of return.
And can I add there the restoration of educational institutions? A lot of people do not realize that Palestinians are one of the most educated populations in the world. Gaza has one of the highest literacy rates, one of the highest PhD rates in the world. And there is a reason that Palestinian educational institutions have been razed to the ground. And any justice involves those being restored.
Yes. I'm coming back to you too in a second. But I have a question for former candidate and student that is speaking to the general public, but also to candidates, and both Palestinian. What prevents candidates from listening to, embodying, and representing the demands of students? In this particular case, we're thinking about Columbia, but this is happening all over the place. Not just all over the US, all over the world. This spread, what happened here, a few miles from here, half a mile from my place in Harlem,
Harlem World.
It spread like wildfire throughout the world. And yet, still to this day, 3 years into this horrific genocide and protests and encampments and everything that we've seen on our phone screens and in person, they're still not listening. They're still not listening. Being against genocide is wildly popular. Being against killing kids and bombing academic institutions and genociding peoples is wildly unpopular, and yet they keep choosing that. Not listening to students, not listening to the general public. So, as a student, and as a formerly running for office and still
The word is
helping-
candidate.
Huh? The word is candidate, but that's the word I'm looking for. Former candidate that is currently, being so helpful through Kapow to, help other candidates. Why? Why are they not listening?
If you would like to. I mean, you've been punished. You've been
punished, and you also ran a campaign that was attracting
Yeah,
so many in the student
we
age
actually
range.
turned out the vote in the precinct for Northwestern by 400%, which was fucking awesome. I mean, like, the logical answer is like money and being worried of, like Canary Mission, all this stuff. But my personal answer is I don't know. I don't think it's that difficult to talk about things that you care about. I don't think it is that difficult to stand for what you believe. I think that you should have a moral code and follow it to your own detriment. And I just do not think it is difficult in the objective form, but in terms of just like what you have to do to be a human being, I don't think it is difficult. I don't think there should be a second thought there. But like the answer is money. And the thing is, students don't realize their power, or when they do, they are immediately trampled upon and threatened and told that they're insignificant. And if you were so insignificant, why would they be trying so hard to snuff you out? The one thing I was just like, I was astounded by a lot on the campaign, but was how many people in politics were like, you shouldn't even talk to young people. And by young people, they meant like folks under 35. They were like, don't even talk to them. And I'm like, I'm 26, bro. What are you talking about? We have this calcified political system where everyone is operating like it's 2008. And like, as a Palestinian person on this issue in particular, I, in my wildest dreams, did not expect in the year like 2024 to see so many people wearing this, of like all races and ages and genders and sexualities and communities. I never saw people care about our struggle or see our humanity for more than like a week at a time every couple of years when Israel would just bomb the shit out of Palestinians. And now it is a microcosm for everything that is wrong in our country. And like, millennials were told this lie. They were like, you go to college, you'll get a house, you'll have a family, everything will be okay. And that was a lie. And then Gen Z, we were just told, you're on your own, kid. Like, you don't even get this fake status quo to believe in. You don't get a future that you can at least hope for. You're coming from a place of having nothing. And so then we see that we're spending billions upon billions to bomb children, to ensure that an apartheid state is able to continue while you're drowning in student debt, while your parents are worried about their retirement, while you can't go to the doctor. When I was a bartender, we used to take fish antibiotics that you get from the pet store. It's ludicrous. And so I think we should just be madder, be louder. And if they don't want to listen to us, then primary them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
make them fucking afraid. In my own race, like, I keep saying good things are possible and we don't have to settle. And we don't. And if you want to see that change, then do it. Because at the very least, you can pressure the people in power to be different. You can pressure them because they will be ashamed to have to say on live television that they're not really sure Netanyahu's a war criminal because like under the legal framework, maybe. No, he has a warrant out by the ICC. I'm sorry, I'm ranting here. But like, y'all have so much power. And that is why one of the most powerful educational corporations in the world is trying to shut you up, and it's not gonna work. Like, when have the student protesters been on the wrong side of history?
Yeah. Woo.
I see different factors. The first one is miseducation. I mean, miseducation is not only the representatives, but it has been built in the infrastructure of this country that there is so much guilt related to what happened to the Jewish people during the Holocaust and associating Judaism with Israel, which has nothing to do with it, in fact. And their inability to break through these barriers from education, miseducation, is one part. The second one is they have selective hearing. Who do they listen to? I mean, when we had the issue during, the organizing at Columbia and so on, there was a committee in the House, that Committee on Education. They invited different speakers, and none of them is Palestinian or part of the pro-Palestine. So they choose who to listen to and who to platform and who to put on the stand and who to hear as a witness. The other one is how did they get to this position? And I think this is the genius of the work that we have been seeing and that you also are building upon, to not accept corporate money. Because corporations has a level of complicity in what's happening in Palestine. Not all corporations, but we know big corporations and so much money that's being channeled and interconnected. So if you are relying on that, it would be very difficult for some people to actually be able to challenge the status quo, because they're gonna rely on the money when they run a game. And the last one, I think, is laziness and fear of facing challenging questions. And I wonder, many representatives are afraid of actually bringing the two different Palestinians or pro-Palestine and those who are pro-Israel to come to understand where is the issue, to bridge. And most of the people and most of the representatives are using, they're doing moral dictations, right, wrong, rather than helping people to understand what's going on and to expand their awareness. And I still, again, to Mayor Mamdani, he grew up on the Upper West Side. His father is a very respectful professor at Columbia. He taught me, I have very deep connection and relation. But to this moment, Mayor Mamdani, who is the mayor of the city, has not made it to Columbia University. And one should ask why.
Why?
I think we should ask him why. And I would love to have this conversation with him, because I have many reservations, as you see. I have very good relationship with him, but we need to bring this to public and put it on the stage. Where do you stand from the student movement? What are you doing in order to be able to hold Columbia accountable with all of the violations that they are still doing until today? And why you have not stated the right of return for Palestinian refugees, while the existence of Israel is on the misery and destruction of the Palestinian home and the Palestinian land and the exile of the Palestinian refugees. And if you want me to continue, I can open a whole package of things that are important to discuss for moral clarity, not for moral dictation, because people need to understand.
Well, I don't know which camera to look at, but Mayor Mamdani, there's your invitation. Let's have that conversation. Because it is incredibly important, and we want to support the changes that are happening in this wonderful city of ours that we love so much. But that is a terrible and awful and immoral falling short on his behalf, not saying the things that need to be said. So thank you for calling that out. Conrad, there's a lot of movements happening, albeit too fractured, and we need to figure out how to bring these separate movements even closer together so we can be a bigger and a louder, more obnoxious, more powerful movement. But these movements are growing and building, these moral movements. How do we turn these growing movements ultimately, which is one movement, one liberation movement, into voters of conscience, voters that vote, that live and vote with morality. Like the morality, as Kat was, like the opposite of what Kat was describing of those politicians, the morality to say, this is my moral compass. I don't care if we end up losing, I don't care if it ends up reflecting, we're gonna say the thing and do the thing and vote the right way. How do we continue translating that instead of, and not leave people in their frustration, in their sort of the paralyzing state they find themselves in because they don't see change actually happening at that level?
Yeah, I think 3 words come to mind when you ask this question. I think it's empowerment, education, and solidarity. And so with empowerment, we know historically the right has always tried to water down the voting rights of any marginalized community, right? And that's no different right here in New York, right? We're talking about having less polling sites or less voting sites in Black communities. We're talking about students having their votes watered down, right? Even on the local level, right? We're talking about polling sites being inaccessible for people who are living with disabilities, right? And so we need to empower the voting rights of our communities. And I think we start doing that by there is a bill right now in the city level, the community education councils. Students are mandated to be on these councils, and these councils make decisions about zoning for public education and a whole host of other things. Students are mandated to be on these councils, but they have no power to vote. No power to vote. There is a bill right now kicking around that would allow students the right to vote on these councils. I think we need to pass that bill immediately, right? It starts there. How can the people who are most affected by the changes to public education not have a say, right? That's exactly what I'm about. We make the profits in this country, right? We do the work. We do the labor. We should have a say in how our labor works and how we're benefited from our labor. Not our bosses, right? Not the people who have power right now. We on the bottom. And so we need to build that sense of empowerment, not just with the student council vote, right? But we need to make sure that we are in the city official spaces about having more polling sites. We need to make sure that we are in city official spaces about making sure we have transportation for our people living with disabilities and our elder community members so that they can come and vote. We need to make sure that mail-in voting is easier for people if they can't leave their home. And we need to educate people about mail-in voting and how they can mail in vote. We need to make sure that people don't have to pay for stamps. People don't have to pay for envelopes. So we have to do the work of empowering people at every level so that voting is truly accessible to people. And that ties into education, right? We need to make sure when we are talking about these splintered movements, when we are having these different protests and different movements, that we are always educating people about our power in our community and what we can do and how we can use our voice, right? I know we're splintered in that sense because we don't all of the organizers might not know each other, right? But if we are all spreading the same message, if we are all doing the same political education, eventually we'll get there, right? Eventually we'll be able to bridge that gap and connect. And that starts with teaching people about their past, right? Especially in Harlem. In Harlem, right, there is a constant erasure of our landmarks. There's a constant erasure of who built Harlem. Harlem was a place where Black radical politics flourished, right? I went to the Gay Renaissance Museum that was at one of the museums here in Manhattan. You wouldn't believe the types of organizing that was going on in the trans community in Harlem, right? And you wouldn't believe how many of Harlem's heroes were trans and queer, and that history being buried. You wouldn't believe that people were standing shoulder to shoulder. I'm talking about cis people standing shoulder to shoulder with trans people in some of these speakeasies, organizing and being together, and then police sending in private investigators to investigate and try to splinter people. And the private investigators couldn't figure out, like, oh my God, the cis people, the straight people are standing with the trans people, and there's no arguments, there's no just people in community. right? And it's because there was solidarity, right? Which is my third thing, is solidarity. We need to make sure that we are bridging the gaps across all struggles and making sure people know that all of these struggles are interconnected, right? Because until we do that, we're not gonna fight for the most marginalized in our communities. And that's where we have to start in order to build our empowerment, right? We have to start with our Black trans women, right? Because they are the most marginalized. They feel every struggle at the same time, right? And then we need to bring that to all of our splintered organizations and make sure that we are teaching that everywhere. That the only way that we are going to pull each other up is by pulling the most downtrodden of us up first. Mm-hmm. That's how we build each other up, right? If one of us aren't free, none of us are free, right? And so if my people are not free, then I am not either. And that's what we need to bring into each one of these spaces, is making sure that we are fighting to build power for every single working class person, and making sure that we wrest power away from the rich and powerful, and making sure that we are doing wealth redistribution, because without that, we're not going anywhere.
We're going to wrap up here shortly. I've got one final question for each of you, but before I ask that final question, it'll be the same question for each of you. How does that question that I just asked Conrad land for you, Andre, specifically in the Bronx, but also specifically because you are attempting, hopefully successfully, fingers crossed, attempting to unseat a really public, god-awful human, right? So how does that turning movement into voting blocks, again, specifically in your case, we all know this person well, and we all want this person gone, and you are, Luke, you are our only hope. Or no, Obi-Wan Kenobi, your only hope. We're looking to you and others to keep that movement going, to unseat Richie. How does that land for you, that question about getting these movements growing and turning into voters?
So I'm hearing multiple questions. One, how do we mobilize people's energy and desire for something different and turn that into voters? And another, how do we defeat Richie Torres? There we go. They understood. They understood. So, I mean, first and foremost, I think that we have to change the way that we think about history. We have to change the way that we think about ourselves, because part of the way education, to Conrad's point, is given to us and is conducted in our classrooms is through this idea of the great man theory, which says that history is made by the actions of great men. When, if you actually study history, you understand that history has only ever been made by the masses of working people, right? And I would specify that further to say that history has been made by the masses of working people. And the degree of progress that we can ever achieve is directly correlated to the level of participation and political education and consciousness of the masses of working class people. So one of the things that we've done in our campaign is beyond just campaigning and telling people what we want to provide if we were in office, right? Lowering the rent, limiting it to no more than 20% of anyone's income, fully funding schools so that we have the ability to develop the after-school program so young people could develop the skills and participate in the transformation of their society directly. But we have to also do the political education so that people understand that all of the power rests in their hands. There is not a savior, there is not a messiah that is coming to wave a wand and make things better overnight. It will only come through the steadfast, committed participation of everyday working people, seeing themselves as the rightful owners of the history and the future that they're creating. So we have to give the people the knowledge that they have the ability to make everything possible, and it can only happen through their full, steadfast participation.
Woo!
The next piece that I want to talk about, the piece on Richie Torres. The problem is capitalism. So we look at Richie Torres as as the symbol, as the avatar for all of the things that are wrong with the political system. He's in bed with the real estate lobby, which is directly behind the increase of rent that is on the top of mind of every resident in the Bronx, in Manhattan, and around the country. That is at the core of most people's concerns. On the other side, you have the AIPAC lobby that is highly, he's one of the biggest defenders of Israel. Again, in the most exploited congressional district in the country, you are a staunch defender of Israel's ability and desire and right to commit genocide against the Palestinian people. We have to reject that. But we have to also reject the system that produced the Vigitores in the first place. It was a capitalist system that allows the billionaires to handpick and select which candidates they want to serve their interests and against the interests of the working people in this country. So if we remove Richie Torres, then we have a long line of people that we also need to remove. And what we are saying instead in this campaign is that instead of looking at individual actors within a system, we need to understand the system that produced those actors. We need to understand the fact that 349 members of our Congress receive direct funding from Israel. So that's a lot of people that you gotta get rid of. But what we're saying instead is that we need to produce the thing that would make that impossible, which we believe is socialism. Socialism is the complete control of the political and economic power in the hands of the working class. That is the only solution that can actually furnish the type of future that our children, that our students actually deserve to and want to be a part of. Huey Newton says that power is the ability to define a phenomenon and have it act in a desired manner. The working people in this country deserve power. They need to have power, and that can only come through organization. That can only come through independent, principled, structured organization that says this is what we want and we will not accept anything less than that. Having 1 or 2 or 100 politicians removed on the basis of their complicity with funding and supporting a genocide is a step in the right direction, but until we create a system of socialism where all of that political and economic power is in the hands of the working class, then we're just treating a symptom and not getting to the heart of the disease. So this is what we're putting forward. And we understand that this has to be built in the election system, in the election cycle, and outside of the election cycle. And we have to do it every single day until we see ourselves not as people hoping for better results, but active participants, active protagonists, working every day with our hands to make the things that we know should exist.
Okay, last question for each of you. You've got 30 seconds. 30 seconds. All 4 of you, in all of your various ways, serve us so well. I mean that. Both here locally and afar, you serve us in so many incredible ways. How can we, as the People's Forum, as members of New York, as humans, how can we support you? We'll start over here with Conrad and work our way this way. How can we support you?
Yeah, I would say go to conradforharlem.com, volunteer. We need people power. We need to knock doors. We need to raise consciousness. That is the best way to help. Money helps. We only take money from grassroots, normal people. We don't take money from corporations, so that helps too. But just care for your neighbor, man. Go do something to help your neighbor at least, So that's how you can help me.
Very similar. Andre4thebronx.nyc is our website. You can find out all the information about our platform. We want you to take this platform into your barbershops, into your communities, and talk about these ideas with the people that you love. Make it a real thing. Obviously, we need donations. We're up against a candidate that has a $14 million war chest, and we've already seen AIPAC put money into getting people like Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush out. And we want money out of politics, but we have to be able to sustain our ability to reach the people in the communities that have been disaffected, that feel like voting makes no sense to them. We need to be able to talk to those people. So we need volunteers, we need funding. And also, not to my horn too much, our merch is kind of crazy. Our merch is kind of crazy. I don't know if you've seen it. Go ahead, get to the website, buy some of it, support it. wear Audrey for the Bronx merch in wherever part of the country you're in, and make this an everyday conversation about what we can do to make our lives better.
Would love to have you involved in our new org POW. We are just trying to make it the norm to actually help people as a part of campaigns. So if you're involved in a campaign, be like, have you reached out? We have more than 100 candidates that are setting up meetings with myself to learn how to integrate mutual aid and direct action into their races. We will be going out to help some of them around the country, but like I said, it's like more than 100, so we can only do so many, but we are trying to make this the norm and pressure even just like the mainstream, for this to be the mainstream. And then also just get weird with it, like in general. Creative solutions are needed right now, and whether that is, you know, feeding people or something more fun, like literally anything. We don't have to keep doing the same things. We don't just have to knock doors. We don't just have to canvass. Those are all very, very important. But we can also do things that we care about. We can do our hobbies. We can invite other people to do that. We can party. We can pet a cat. But we can also do that with other people. Let's stop being isolated from each other. Think of creative solutions. Then just do them. Don't wait.
So pet cats with your friends.
Pet cat with your friends.
The first thing is to be able to take a good care of yourself. Really, because if you want to change the world, it's very important to start from within. Center yourself, be aware of your emotions, regulate your emotions, come to the world from a place of love, a place of kindness, and fight for justice from a place of love. You don't have to come to have anger and fire in order to be able to fight for justice. That's very possible. Second one, we have initiatives, student organizers at Columbia. Columbia is so significant in terms of affecting and impacting other universities, and I think they are doing the QR code, so just join so they can keep you informed about what's going on. And I believe that the coming semester in the fall will be a very interesting one, transformative one. And the third one is, don't think that divestment and boycott and sanctions is only a tactic for universities. There are many levels where you can apply them. You can apply them on institutional levels, which we were trying to do at Columbia. You can do them with city halls, in every city hall, or select boards in towns, and you can advocate for them. This is a moral stand in alignment with civil rights and human rights, so you're not violating anything. And after that, actually it can be carried from there to a state level, and from a state level, hopefully we can see it by the end of the year or by after the midterm, that it is going to be applied on a federal level. But it's not that complicated. We've passed actually about 5 resolutions in Vermont in different towns, which is to commit to apartheid-free community. And those have been passed through select boards and through town halls. So I encourage every one of you, even though you live here, speak with your people outside of the city and encourage them to apply it locally, because this is how we build it from the bottom up.
Can I make one more plug? Please call, text, send emails to your legislators to pass Not on Our Dime. New York State should not be using our money to drop bombs on children, to drop bombs on families. We should be out of the business of entangling with genocide. So Not on Our Dime needs to pass now.
Wait, Nick, thank you. What about you? What about you? Yeah. Yeah. How do people support you? do you
Thank
want?
you. I did not. Thank you. Thank you.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. You can listen to the Let's Give It In podcast. I have several people on the stage here. Well, 2 people on the stage that have been guests. We have incredible guests. We are building a foundation, the Let's Give It In Foundation, that supports anti-fascist artists. And I'm the co-founder of Broadway Voices for Palestine, an incredible organization. A couple of the folks from Broadway Voices for Palestine are here. Tyler and Stephanie, I think, are back there. It's a group of performers and producers and directors that are trying to figure out how to survive in an industry they love while also speaking out on all the things that matter. Yeah, and I'm here to serve you as well. I live in the city. I'm here to serve you in any way that you need. Part of Let's Give a Damn, and just me, Nick LaVara. So, huge round of applause for Conrad, for Andra, for Pat, for Wilson.
Thank you so much. Can we get another round of applause for our moderators, our panelists, our organizers? Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. Thank you to everyone watching on stream. Thank you especially to you all who stuck it out towards the end. Give yourselves a big round of applause for all the wonderful conversation that you just heard. And a huge appreciation to the People's Forum for hosting us. And you heard a lot of great calls to action. And I just want to platform again that big things are coming. Fill out that form and you'll be a part of them. I promise.